Hello everyone, welcome back to the tutorials again. So today we are going to discuss about the soil mechanics subject. So in that module number 2 we have already started with. So in previous session we have discussed about the index properties of the soil and their determination. So I have briefly discussed about it. So I'll just go through the content which we have covered in previous sessions and then we will move forward. So you can see uh, various properties of the soils are grouped into two categories. One is index properties, another one is engineering properties. These engineering properties are entirely depending upon the index properties. That means if you know the index properties, you can determine the engineering properties. Okay, so we'll move further. So there are basically three engineering properties of the soil. They are permeability, compressibility, and shear strength, and they are used in classification of soils. Helps in geotechnical engineer to predict the stability of soil. On other hand, index properties are basic properties of the soil, such as, so you can see these are the index properties which we started studying about, that is specific gravity, water content, particle size distribution, consistency limit, and indices, density of a soil, and relative density. So you can see we have moved to the we have studied about the specific gravity. Specific gravity can be defined as it is a unit weight of soil solids to the equal volume of unit weight of water. That is, specific gravity is denoted by capital G, which is equal to mu S divided by mu W. Okay, specific gravity can be determined by two methods, that is pycnometer method and density bottle method. So in that, density bottle method is suitable for all the types of soil. Pycnometer method is suitable for coarse grained soil only. So we'll move further. So I told you that I am going to show you the pycnometer image. So you can see this is a pycnometer which we are going to use to determine the specific gravity. So this is a glass jar, this is the cap, and this is a cap with washer, and this is a brass cap. So on the top there will be brass cap, and you can see here there will be a hole, a small hole will be there, so that to avoid the air gap. Okay, so this is the pycnometer. So we'll move back to the content. So it is very simple. So you have to take the dry pycnometer and you have to weigh it emptily, and that we are going to name it as W1. Next, take 200 to 400 grams of oven dried soil, and then which should be passing from 4.75 mm sieve, and then we have to weigh the pycnometer with it. That is going to give us W2, means empty weight, so W1. So weight of pycnometer with 200 to 400 grams of soil sample, it is going to give us W2. So further you can see, add half of the water to the pycnometer. So half of the water we have to add in the pycnometer, then we have to shake well to avoid the air gaps. After that, removal of the air, fill up the pycnometer. After removal of the air, fill up the pycnometer completely and dry up the pycnometer. So we have to fill up this pycnometer completely by using this particular hole. So you are going to study, you are going to perform this experiment in the laboratories, don't worry about that. So after filling it completely, we have to weigh it, and it is going to give us W3. After that, what we have to do, we have to empty this pycnometer completely. We have to empty this pycnometer completely. After that, we have to only fill up the water till the top, and then we have to weigh, and it is going to give us W4. So by using this formula, we can calculate the specific gravity. So water content is very simple. It's given in lab manual, you can go through it. So specifically in today's session, I am going to move to the particle size distribution. So particle size distribution is a one of the simple experiment to determine the various sizes, amount of various sizes of particles which are present in the soil. So what I mean, if I take a small amount of soil, there are various sizes of the particles which are present. What is the percentage of a particular size of a particle which is present? I need to find out like that. So different sizes, what is the percentage of different sizes of the particle which are present? I need to find out to decide the classification, for the classification of the soil. Okay, so to determine the particle size distribution, I can use uh, two methods. I can do it in two steps. That is, you can see over here, particle size distribution can be done in two steps. That is, sieve analysis. First, I have to perform whatever the remaining soil is there, on that I have to perform sedimentation analysis. Sieve analysis is called as dry process. Sedimentation analysis is called as wet process. So remember, you can see here, sieve analysis is performed on a soil whose size is greater than 75 micron. So whenever the size of the particle are greater than 75 micron, I am going to perform the sieve analysis. So if the particle size is more than 75 micron, I have to perform the sieve analysis. So whatever the particle which are less than 75 micron, for them I have to perform sedimentation analysis. So this sieve analysis is called as dry process. Sedimentation analysis is called as wet process. So in sieve analysis, there are again two sub steps, that is coarse sieve analysis and fine sieve analysis. So I am going to tell about these two later. So in sedimentation analysis, we can perform it by hydrometer method and pipette method. So we'll concentrate on sieve analysis first. So you can see over here, sieve analysis is very simple. In sieve analysis, there are two sub steps, that is coarse sieve analysis and fine sieve analysis. Sieve analysis is generally performed when particle sizes are more than 75 micron. But fine sieve analysis we have to perform for the particles which are having the size from 75 micron to 4.75 mm. So in between whatever the particle sizes are there, so for them, for that particular soil, we have to perform the fine sieve analysis. If the particle sizes are more than 4.75 mm, we have to perform the coarse sieve analysis. So both the procedure and other things are remain same. Procedure is same, just the size varies. So I'll just repeat it. Fine sieve analysis we are going to perform for the particle sizes which are having size in between 75 micron to 4.75 mm. Coarse sieve analysis is performed for the particle sizes who are more than 4.75 mm. Okay, the observation table for fine sieve analysis is given over here. You can see fine sieve analysis is performed from 75 micron to 4.75 mm size particles. So these are the sizes of the sieve. So these are the sizes of the sieve. We call sieve as a chalni in Marathi, so you can easily understand it. So these are the sieve sizes. So we are going to arrange the sieves in a descending order. So 4.75 mm will be on the top, 2.36 on below that 1.38, like that we are going to arrange, and finally we are going to place the pan. So we are going to take 1 kg of a sample. We are going to place it on the top sieve, and then we are going to place the setup, this entire setup, on sieve shaker for 10 to 15 minutes. Then we are going to take the readings of mass retained, means on 4.75 mm what is the amount of soil retained. We are going to measure it, we are going to weigh it. So remember, we have taken a particular 1 kg of sample. So after all this, we are going to calculate these things. Percentage finer means how much amount of soil is passing through that particular sieve, means let us think that 5% is remaining on 4.75 mm sieve, means what is the percentage finer? Percentage finer is 95%. Percentage finer is 95%. Similarly, we have to calculate for all this, and after that, what is the specific use of this particular sieve analysis is we can draw the particle size distribution curve. So we can see on x-axis we have taken the particle size, and on y-axis percentage finer. So in observation table you can see this is the particle sizes and this is the percentage finer. So this is on x-axis and this is on y-axis we have to take. So after taking them on x-axis and y-axis, based on the type of curve which we are getting, we can decide the type of soil. I will tell you how we are going to decide the type of soil based on the type of curve which we are getting. So you can see here I have used three colors. So one is blue, black and red. First we are going to see this blue color line. So you can see this blue color line is linear. It is uniformly increasing. So nowhere it is flat. So it goes on increasing and it is uniform. So what it indicates, as the particle size increases, particle fine percentage of fine increases. That means all the sizes of the particles are present in appropriate proportion. Remember this, all if all the sizes of the particles are present in appropriate proportion, it is called as well graded soil. So it is given over here. A soil sample may be either well graded or poorly graded. A soil sample is said to be well graded when it has good representation of particles of all the sizes. Means all the sizes of the particles are present in appropriate proportion. For example, if I take 1 mm, 1.18 mm CO, so in that uniform percentage of soil is retaining or soil is passing through it. So all the sizes are in uniform manner. So again you can see, I will take the example of this particular red curve which I have drawn. So only one curve you are going to get. Just for example, I have drawn all these curves. So if I take the example of this red curve, you can see it is having particle sizes between 0.1 to 0.15 maximum. So 0.1 to 1.15 in between this. So what it indicates? It indicates that the particular soil sample is having all the size of particles in a uniform manner. Means all the size of particles are almost same. That is why the particle sizes of this particular size are absent and particle sizes of this particular size are absent. Only the sizes are present in between 0.1 to 0.15. So those are almost same. So it is called as uniformly graded. Another one you can see, black line, it is gap graded. Why we call it as a gap graded? Because you can see I have marked 2 points, that is E1 and E2. So in between this E1 and E2 only size increases, but there is no increase in percentage finer. That means these two sizes, so that means in between these two sizes means zero point 0.1 and 0.14 approximately. So in between these two sizes there is no particle which is present. So there is no particle which is having size in between these two. So that's why it is called as gap graded. So there is a gap in size. There is a gap in size. That's why it is called as gap graded. Another type of soil sample which I have not shown here is called as poorly graded soil. If the soil is called as, if the soil we can say as poorly graded when it is not having appropriate representation of all the sizes of the particle. All the sizes may present, but one size may present in very small quantity and one size may present in very huge quantity. I am not telling that all the sizes of the particles are not present. If some sizes are absent, it is called as gap graded. But if there is no proper representation, means for example particular type of soil is, particular size of a particle is present in a small quantity and particular type of soil size is present in a huge quantity, so it is called as poorly graded soil. So for grading the soil we need to carry out the sieve analysis. So this is the importance of sieve analysis. So it is for grading purpose. So we can grade it as a well graded, we can grade it as a poorly graded, we can grade it as a uniformly graded, as well as we can grade it as a gap graded. So this sieve analysis, whatever the sieve analysis which we are going to perform, that sieve analysis is performed specifically for grading purpose. Okay, so this is just a calculation which I have shown for that tabular column. So you can observe one thing over here. I have marked this D10, D30, D60 over here. So what are this D10, D30, D60? So this D10, D30, D60 are used in classification of soil. Not only we can grade the soil, but we can classify the soil also by using this sieve analysis. So for the classification of soil, we need shape parameters. So this D10, D30 and D60 are called as shape parameters. So in that there are these D10, D30, D60 are used in finding out the shape parameters. So what are these shape parameters? Shape parameters are of two types, that is CU and CC. CU means coefficient of uniformity, CC means coefficient of curvature. So for CU and CC, formulas are given over here. So you may ask me, what is this D10, D30 and D60? D10 is a size in mm such that 10% of particles are finer than that particular size. So D10 is also called as effective diameter or effective size. Remember, once in a gate they have asked about this particular question. So D10 is also called as effective diameter or effective size. Okay. So I will show you in the curve. D10 is a size. So if I consider this curve, blue color line, well graded curve. So D10 is a size. From that size, 10% particles are finer. So if I draw a horizontal line from 10% and wherever it touches the curve, I can drop it vertically. Whatever the size I am going to get there, that is called as D10. D30 is also very simple. D30 is a size in mm through which 30% of the particles are finer. Okay, so it is 30%. D60 is the size in mm through which 60% particles are finer than that particular size. So we are going to find out D10, D30 and D60 like this. Okay. Anyway, you can see over here. So by using this D10, D30, D60, we can calculate CU and CC. Based on the calculation of CU and CC, we are going to classify the soil. So you can see, so for uniformly graded soil, CU means uniformity coefficient will be nearly equal to 1. So if CU is nearly equal to 1, I can say it as a uniformly graded soil. So if I want to say it as a well graded gravel, then CU should be greater than 4 and CC should be in between 1 to 3. So for well graded sand, CU should be greater than 6 and CC should be in between 1 to 3. So like this, we are going to use this shape parameters. We are going to use the shape parameters in classification of a soil and grading of a soil. For grading purpose, we can use the sieve analysis. So sieve analysis can be used for grading purpose or grading of a soil as well as classification of a soil. Okay. We'll move further. So next is sedimentation analysis. Sedimentation analysis is carried out for the particles whose size is less than 75 micron. Okay, so we'll study this in some other session. So it's not given in your syllabus, just for understanding purpose I have given it. So you can go through this hydrometer corrections for hydrometer. It has been asked in many of the university papers, so you can go through it. Okay, next point in your syllabus is consistency of soil. So consistency is a relative ease with which soil can be deformed or molded. So consistency of a soil is easiness with which I can mold the soil. Okay, so it is a easiness with which I can mold the soil. It is like a workability in concrete. So how easily I can handle the concrete is called as workability. Consistency means how easily I can mold the soil is called as consistency. So you can see the fine-grained soil behaves like solid, plastic as well as liquid. So I will tell you, when the soil is in dry state, it behaves like a solid. When the soil is in semi-wet state, it will behave like a plastic. And when the soil is completely wet and when the water content is more, it may behave like a liquid state. So all these behaviors will be depending upon the water content. Okay, so hence it is necessary to study the water content at which soil changes from one state to other state. For example, soil will behave in a solid state, plastic state as well as liquid state. So what is the water content at which soil changes from solid to plastic, plastic to liquid? So we have to study that particular water content. So once we know that particular water content, we can uh, say the behavior of the soil, either it is plastic, liquid or solid. Okay, so we must study that water content. So this created a curiosity in scientists, and Atterberg is determining the water content at which soil changes from one state to another state. So those another state, and termed those water contents as consistency limits or Atterberg's limits. So what are these consistency limits and Atterberg's limits? So consistency limits and Atterberg's limits are the boundary water content between two states of the soil. So why we are studying this boundary water content? So we are studying this boundary water content to understand the behavior of the soil. So how we are going to understand the behavior of the soil, I will tell you. So based on this boundary water content, we can decide the soil state of the soil, means it is in plastic state or a liquid state or semi solid state or solid state we are going to decide. And based on the state of the soil, we can tell the behavior of the soil. So Atterberg has Atterberg is a scientist who has conducted the research on the consistency of a soil, and he has found the boundary water content between two states of the soil, and he has named them as a consistency limits or Atterberg's limits. So they are expressed as percentage of water. So there are three consistency limits he has found. So Atterberg has found three consistency limits. Okay, so what are those three consistency limits? So that is liquid limit, plastic limit and shrinkage limit, WL, WP and WS. So these are the three consistency limits found by Atterberg. Okay, so based on these three consistency limits, we can decide the state of the soil, and based on the state of the soil, we can decide the behavior of the soil. Okay, so in next session, what we are going to study is we are going to study the Atterberg's limits, and after that we are going to study density indices or density indices or consistency indices. So these density indices or consistency indices are entirely depending upon the consistency limits. That means consistency indices are depending upon the consistency limits. So first we will study this consistency limits, then we will move to the consistency indices. Okay, so thank you.